It was always debated. It really was. I mean, for a long period of time, and it's still debatable, is it not? Whether or not baseball is successful here in South Florida. Would you say? I mean, the only people so far that I think it's been really successful for were Laurie and Sampson.
Yes.
Who cashed in billions. Everybody else has left here kicking and screaming, have they not? The son-in-law and Pops, who have went from buying Dayglow Jesus paintings to all of a sudden he's in the bidding at Southeast for a Van Gogh.
Exactly.
It's an original there, Joe. Okay.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Little rain delay to start the program. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Degenerate Friday edition of the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubie Lubitz. And Lubie, you're beginning to experience what it's like to have a dog. Now, how old is this dog? You got a rescue dog, which I'm very proud of you. In fact, I want to applaud you. I mean, you know me with my dogs. I'm a big dog lover. I have 2 rescue dogs. I have one laying here right now next to me. Always keeps me company during the show. The other one wakes me up a couple of times during the middle of the night. And we'll only eat now boar's head roast beef. Not even like the chicken or the ham. All right? I'm saying this is Black Mountain smoked Virginia ham. Could it be Black Mountain in Virginia? I don't know. But I mean, it had like very specific designations as to where this ham originated. And I show it to Skip and he goes, "What the fuck?"
So not only boar's head, but
where's the beef? Yeah. Which ain't cheap, Lubie.
Oh,
these dogs are eating better than I am. It's amazing.
I know.
I'm trying to nurse some cottage cheese through 2 meals. And fucking dogs are eating boar's head roast beef. But you know what? You would do anything for them because you love them so much. And
Yep.
But now, what happened? This is the reason for the delayed start of the program today. Your dog, what, became a woke person? I mean, should we call DeSantis? What do we have to do?
Maybe. I don't know what he's supporting, but he definitely made this morning a lot more difficult. So he's a 2-year-old husky. We got him Saturday from the rescue. And he's got to have been abused pretty solid because he was really scared. It literally took us 15 minutes just to get him into the home. Like,
oh, wow.
He must have been an outside dog. He must have been mistreated. I mean, he was very sweet. He wasn't.
Where'd you get him from, by the way?
This place called UFAR, United something,
Okay.
UFAR. It's off of, it's just south of Atlantic on 441. And they have a ton of cats and they do have dogs. And if you have Instagram, they're all over Instagram.
And support these places, people. I mean, if you have a couple of spare dimes after you hit a trifecta or something, nothing wrong with kicking in a little to the so-called kitty. In this case, the cash flow for these rescue places, because they really do a very honorable job.
Great job. They have like 100 cats, and they usually have a handful of dogs. And it's where we got our cat from, and they're great. And they have a vet there as well, so we go there for most of our vet services. They do a great job. So Shirley noticed that they had a husky, and she's wanted a dog forever. I was holding off on getting a dog, but we both like huskies. You know, they're a big,
much larger responsibility than a cat.
Yes. Oh my God. That's why we got a cat first, because she wanted an animal. I'm like, okay, a cat's not that much.
Not that you're not taking care of the cat, but I mean, the cats don't require a whole lot. They really don't. You put a litter box out, some food, and let them in and out of the house, and they're fine.
That's the whole freaking thing. You had 2, cats. Cats.
I had 3 of them at one time. Yeah.
3. Jesus. Okay. Cats are way easier than dogs. So we go to get this dog, and he's like comatose. So we feel sad, but at least it wasn't a lot of work. He was staying in the same area of the house. He ate when we fed him.
Scared to death.
He went out. He was scared to death. So it's sad, but it was a lot more manageable. Yesterday was day 4, and he realized,
because this is cool. I can take advantage of Lubie like everybody else does.
We have the really big tiles that are glossy and slippery. So he was scared to go around the home.
Right.
Instant to the kitchen and realized, oh, okay, I can walk on this. Well, that was the end of that. He now is going around the whole fucking house. I left for trivia last night. Shirley's like, yeah, he was in the closet ransacking your shoes.
Oh, beautiful.
He ripped up her parents' dog comes over, so we have a bed for him, but he never uses it. And this dog, we don't have a lot of toys for him yet because he was comatose. Well, we'll need to go buy a bunch of toys. He ripped the shit out of this fucking bed.
Oh, yeah.
Tore it up.
Shirley's Gucci bag. He tore it to shreds.
He didn't ruin any shoes or bags as of
Yeah.
yet, but he's ready. So this morning
All
was so fun.
How old is this dog again? Did I ask you that?
He's two. He's 2.
2 years old. Okay.
2-year-old. He's not an official puppy, but he thinks he's a puppy.
All right. Well, he's just learning. It'll take him some time.
Yes, it will. So I apologize for the late start.
Oh, no problem. I mean, you know what? It's okay. I have my British Open on here. Although yesterday was an extremely disappointing day for a number of reasons, including some degenerate of the degenerate variety, as I probably would have fared well had I gone into the pool. I don't know exactly how it would have gone because I didn't solidify all of my picks, but I would have been right on the money because I was going to go ahead and take a shot there with a couple of guys that actually did pretty well, including Tommy Fleetwood Mac, who was tied for the lead going into the second round. He hasn't teed off yet today. There was a guy named Brian Harmon who currently is on top by 3 strokes. But Fleetwood has yet to tee off, and the conditions obviously still somewhat favorable for scoring. I don't know if they're quite as good as they were yesterday. Seems to be a little bit of a cloud cover coming in, although it must be warmer than it was yesterday because you had guys in the sweaters and all kinds of crap. I want these guys in fur fucking coats when they're playing a British Open. What the hell? That was so disappointing yesterday, Lubie. Did you see what was going on in the background? Did you see this?
No.
I don't mean to, get overly excited about, some, kind of bizarre complaint, but nonetheless, I mean, there was a guy like kite surfing in the background. Kite surfing on waters that normally would be frigid enough to sink the Titanic. I want to see Billy Tyne out there trying to explain to his crew that they're going to go to the Flemish Cap, in spite of the fact that the waves are, measuring in at about 100 feet. I always get the fish. Way to go, Clooney. That was probably the most unbelievable role. He kind of plays the same role all the time, like the cool guy that doesn't really have a whole lot of expression.
Yeah,
which is cool. I mean, real easy role to play, and it's always the same, whether he's a good guy, a villain, a criminal. It doesn't make any difference.
He plays Clooney. That's really what he does in every movie.
Is Keanu Reeves just a poor man's Clooney? Because he's the same in every movie, whether he's Batman or he's Johnny. What was the guy named? Johnny Montana or whatever.
Johnny Utah.
Johnny Utah. I know he was named after some state.
Yes, a state. Out west.
Probably his most significant role, right? Although Swayze really carried the movie by being the evil factor in there. Like a good guy, a guy that you could like, but at the same time, he was inherently evil. Maybe he wasn't inherently evil. Maybe he was just evil on the surface and he just couldn't find his inner essence. I don't know. Was there a message in that movie, Point Break? Yeah. It's like if you're going to rob a bank, don't wear the same mask every time you go. And how is it that Nick Nolte is always the guy that gets shot at the end of the movie, right? It's always Nolte. Nolte was brilliant, by the way, as the haggard old trainer in the show Luck, the ill-fated show Luck, which I thought was going to be one of the all-time classics in terms of series, especially since it had a degenerate theme to it. And it was based somewhat, I mean, some of the characters were based on like real guys out of the California racing scene, including the late great Julio Canani, who was a phenomenon for you degenerates out there, because my buddy Mike Melendez, who I've recently been in touch with after like a 40-year, hey, where is this guy? And we managed to connect through Saratoga race caller Frank Miramati. Who,
nice.
Mighty Man, I called him Mighty Melendez, introduced me to Miramati many, many years ago. Well, you know the story. He was coming to South Florida here to work for like some boiler room score phone operation where he was going to recreate stretch calls of the third at Yonkers. And, my friend Mike said, hey, I know this guy. If you can help him out at all, please do. I don't know that I was of any great aid to him because he, essentially did all of this stuff on his own. He is one of those guys, Lubie, that is relentless in his pursuit of what he wants. And it's not like he does it in an evil fashion where he's mowing people down. But it worked, right? Santa Anita, Saratoga sounded great at Saratoga, by the way.
Nice.
And I mean, it was, a phenomenal thing. But and now I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
Mike, the Mighty Melendez, the Mike guy that you lost touch with, that got back in touch with through Miramati. That's where you were. I don't know where you were going.
I don't know. I kind of lost that whole clip because I got distracted here. I'm watching this British Open thing going on, and I can't believe this amateur guy hasn't already declared to be a professional.
So I think it was a rhetorical question, because if I know the answer to this, Andy has to. But Andy was like, when you make a mind bet but don't actually place the bet,
Yeah.
you root for the bet or against it. And I was like, obviously, you root against it. Like you want it to fail, so you don't.
You want
feel
it to fail. Yeah, of course. You don't want to be right when you don't have your money in
exactly,
because you're so often wrong when you do.
exactly. The one time you don't bet it, it hits, obviously. So that's what you'd rather.
And you really don't want to be rooting against your friends, do you, Lubie? I mean, do you want to find yourself, somebody says, I don't know about that 9 Defo. I'm going to go ahead and bet the 5. And then they hit with the 5 for 37.60. And you're like, fuck.
Like, fuck.
It's not the sign of a good person, is it?
Well, it's whatever. It depends if you had the 9 or
Oh,
not.
I think I was talking about the British Open pool.
Yes.
Yeah, and the bets that you don't make. So I don't know how I would have fared, but I would have had Tommy Fleetwood Mac. And I would have also had Spieth. So and Spieth did well yesterday. I think he might be in at 2 under, and he hasn't teed off yet today.
Yeah.
The leader after the first round was 10 under. So my other 5 guys, obviously, at least 1 or 2 of them would have had to have been under par, and then you don't want anybody that's threatening to miss the cut. John Rahm is coming on a little bit in this round, although seems to be, I think, I don't know, is he too far out of it? He's like 8 shots back. I think he just birdied a couple of holes to get to even par. But many people were speculating that he was going to be a bust. Still, I mean, a bitter disappointment. The conditions are still, completely benign, Lubie. Benign. We're talking cancer treatments here. Benign.
Yeah.
And there are no trees. The rough doesn't seem to be absurd enough to really. I mean, we have seen a couple of fluky things. Justin Thomas was on 18, which has sort of adjoining bunkers. And there are those rope ladder bunkers where it's almost impossible to hit out of the thing because you have to hit the ball straight up in the air. I don't even think Jerry Pate with the alien wedge could get out of these bunkers. Ken Venturi on one of those demonstrations where he probably did 57 takes before he finally landed one 2 feet from the cup where it gently landed on the green, right? And they went, well, there he is, the master, Ken Venturi, and that's his tip for the day. Tip for the day. Meanwhile, my guy was probably hacking until his wrists were breaking, trying to get out of that trap on the first 56 takes. But Thomas went from one trap to the other, which is my favorite move. But it wasn't across the green, Lubie. There are 2 traps on, it would have been the right side of the green. 2 little pot bunkers, as they call them. And he's in one with an awkward lie. So his only chance to get out of this thing and, maybe salvage a double bogey is to hit the ball again off the green and try to then salvage whatever he could. But instead, he hits it too short, and it goes right into the next bunker, which he now has to hit off the green. And I think he ended up with he had a horrible round. Rahm's +1, your man John Rahm. Did you have him as a factor in this, Lubie?
No,
I'm not sure.
I remember we brought up a bunch of guys, but we didn't really think we'd go into John Rahm. We weren't going to bet on John Rahm. You said
it's no fun, though, if these guys are destroying par. Would you agree?
No, look, I don't mind them doing it for a day or two, like what Gerg said, but at some point you want to see them struggle. I just don't want to see them struggle the whole time.
I want to see double snowmen on the scorecard.
To see them struggle for 4 days, that's a lot. I don't want them struggling for 4 days.
Did you have difficulty writing down an 8 when you actually tallied an 8 on a golf hole?
No.
Did you shave that down to a 6?
Always, yes.
Tell me, people.
8 or 9.
Yeah. What'd you have on that one, Lubie? Nah, I think it was a 6. All right, I'll give you a 6. How irrelevant was most, golf scoring? Obviously in the PGA and in these majors, it is tracked very carefully. Although they do have some absurdities with lie improvement and various things where they get relief, and you're thinking, wait a minute, how does the guy that thing with Spieth? I mean, was unforgettable. We don't bring that up with the professor when he comes on, do we?
You do. You almost bring it up every
No,
time.
I mean, I don't. I shouldn't bring it up today. Is what I'm
probably
saying.
not. You will.
Can you avoid it? I mean, he's got Matt Kuchar 45 to fucking 1. Unbelievable.
Yeah, Spieth in this tournament, I think so. I mean, I guess it's okay.
Spieth is always a factor in for some reason in this style of golf, the links style of golf. Anyway, very disappointing. You want to see Shelley Winters taking tickets as if you were entering the Poseidon Adventure, if you're one of the fans there getting into the grounds at Royal Liverpool, where Rory McIlroy, who was even par yesterday, and earlier this morning, I don't know what he's at right now, but he was 2 under, I think. He had done it to 2 under par. Yeah. Not playing badly, Is the deal where he hangs in there for a couple of rounds instead of getting everybody all excited, right? Everybody's got a Woody. Wow, Rory McIlroy's in the lead. It's unbelievable. And his father predicted he would win this years and years ago when he was 25. He bet him at 100,000 to 1. Wasn't that the story that he had bet with some British bookmaker who probably had checked out by the time the bet was actually coming to fruition there? But he had bet like when Rory McIlroy was 9 years old that he would win the British Open someday.
Yeah, someday too. He left it like wide open.
And didn't he win? He won it in 2014.
Yes, it was like a whole thing.
That was unbelievable. And he had money on it. Kind of like when Wayne Root was betting on the Trumpster after the Trumpster made that absurd speech about building a wall between the U.S. and Mexico. Remember, he came down, and he always has to do something with like really cheesy drama surrounding it, doesn't he? Where he's got Melania, who doesn't even speak to him. Can you imagine? When was the last time Donnie said anything to Melania except, what? Do you ever see her around? Where is she, man? The first lady.
No, you never see her.
The distinguished first lady of the United States of America, Melania Trump.
Please. That was the most political marriage ever. Whatever the marriage is, it wasn't out of love. Are you kidding me? That's the strangest marriage.
Where is she? You couldn't find her with a search warrant, I don't think. Well, when they had the search warrant from Mar-a-Lago, they couldn't find Melania. I think that's what they were originally searching for. And they said, hey, what are these documents? Oh, look at that top secret. You got to be kidding me. Anyway, that thing's ongoing. So we have some live sports action. Christo Lamprecht,
yes,
is a Georgia Tech golfer. He's an Australian, 6'8", and seems to be a very cool cat. He's
South
5
African.
under.
He's South African. He's not
South African. Okay, I thought he was Australian.
He's South African.
What difference does it make? South African, Australian.
I feel like
I sound like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Yeah, the Jews. I think Johnny Bench is going to be on the ticket there.
Exactly.
He's making a cheap Jew joke. I mean, if you are Jewish, can you get away with it? I mean, Johnny Bench, obviously, it's not like he's Benchowitz.
But I don't think he's Jewish. Is he Jewish? He's not Jewish.
No, Johnny Bench, get out of here.
No, Johnny Bench can't get away with in public at the Hall of Fame or something, a big event, making a Jewish joke. No. Hey,
you know that Jew was a cheapskate?
Yeah.
You think that was inappropriate?
I mean, if he's with a bunch of friends, I guess people do it, but it's not right.
What do people think of
Public.
that? It's almost a knee-jerk reaction, though. I mean, that kind of a joke about the Jewish people, of which I am one. So I don't get offended by it because I grew up in Brooklyn in the 50s.
Yeah, whatever. I mean,
that's you refer to each other in insulting tones.
yes, you do.
Affectionately, right?
Sure.
There's the so-and-so, right? And you're like, hey, Joe, how you doing? It never really bothered you. You didn't sit there and go, hey, wait a minute, man. Let me call, some attorney that's working for free and see if he can't do something about this and shut this down. People got a little sensitive, huh? So Fleetwood Mac is in there, has a shot. Emiliano Grillo. Is it Grillo or Grillo? It's Grillo, I'm going to say.
Probably Grillo, but you could probably call him Grillo and he'll answer to it.
Grillo rhymes with Brillo. Anyway, he wasn't having a great round today. He was 5 under going into today's round. Last time I tracked him, he was +2. Training camps open in the NFL. We had at least the Dolphins open up their training camp with no fanfare whatsoever because Messi debuts tonight, Lubie.
He does. He's supposedly. The problem is
he's not going to play now. He's got a toe injury.
They said he's going to play, but they don't know when and they don't know how long. So, like, the tickets have plummeted. First of all, there are still tickets available, which was not the case. You're having it at an 18,000 seat place.
I saw, like, tickets available for under a deuce.
And they're, like, around $200 exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's because the
how much are they normally? $10?
Yeah, they're not like 20.
What could you charge to go to a MLS game? Do they charge like regular ballpark prices for that stuff?
At the cities that have a lot of fans, sure. I mean, it's a big.
Seattle, you're paying like $100 to sit downstairs.
I don't know about that. It's for good seats, it's $100 to $200.
Right.
Or whatever seats is like.
Imagine paying $100 to see a soccer game.
These people in Seattle and Atlanta and Portland.
Pele would have to come back from the dead in his prime for me to pay $100 to see a soccer game, and I would only do it if they actuated him coming back from the dead as part of the ceremony before the game got started.
They rise him and everything goes.
Right. I mean, the dirt starts moving, and then all of a sudden he pops a coffin, and the lid pops open, and out sprints Pele, just as if he had faked an injury and gotten some guy, to get hammered with a yellow card. That would be the ultimate, soccer move, wouldn't it? Where a guy actually came back from the grave and then sprinted off the field there as they put in a substitution. All right, we have the Greek coming up. We're going to hustle into a couple of things here. We have the Greek and then the professor with the big board,
Yes.
and maybe some preseason predictions here on the NFL. Or that was brilliant, his dissertation last week on the Heisman Trophy possibles.
Yes.
Where, it's Caleb Williams, right? That's the guy out in California, USC.
He's the reigning Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
And he's back in football. So usually
back to back is tough to do, isn't it?
I mean, once.
Archie Griffin, the only guy, right?
And it happened the one time was 50 or 60 years ago. So they don't do it. Like you can have statistically a better year the next year.
Yes.
Well, look, Manziel did it. Jameis didn't, but Manziel had a better year statistically. I think Carson Palmer.
What about Tim Tebow?
Leinart, Tebow. I think they were better because they won a title the next year. Like,
did he win it in his final year, or did he have a chance to win it twice?
Year. Remember, he won it the sophomore year when he had great numbers, but they were like 8-4. The next year when they were great and I think contended for a title, but maybe lost, or maybe won. They may have won the title. He didn't win it. Like, that's the thing. When you're coming back off of a Heisman, they don't want you to win it a second time. So you can have a better year statistically, and you're still not going to
lose. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff out of the professor on that. I forget who he named, but some Wisconsin running back and some other guy that you wouldn't normally think of. So if you're going to make a score on this kind of bet, that's the way to do it, right? Think outside the box and do it early. All right, we're coming back with the Greek. We'll see what he has on his mind, and then many other things to discuss here on the program. The professor, later on, the Gambling Gourmet, Mike Mayo, who he was fairly, you would say from an etiquette standpoint yesterday at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market, which it's funny, too, because the name does not imply that you're going to be dining as if you were at a fine restaurant.
Yeah, well, Gene's great on the grill, and I like to not only do it for us, they're willing to do it for other people. If you want, I guess, the hot dog.
You call ahead and they'll prepare the stuff for you.
They'll make it. You can just eat it on the go or driving a la Defo style. I mean, I've learned it's mostly sandwiches that he eats like a fucking homeless animal. Like,
right. Like your dog the first time you
Wolf
feed
on
him
the
something.
Street, like that's how Wolf would eat.
Yeah.
Because when there's a fork and a knife and something you would cut food, like the type of food, like a steak of some kind, usually he won't eat it with his hands. He has.
We've seen it.
He has, but that's not the norm. When it's a sandwich, then
he's
head first.
All Joey Chestnut on that. All right, let's make some room for the Greek here. We're coming back in a moment. Degenerate Friday just getting underway, and we'll have our full-fledged Degenerate Fridays, not too far in the distant future.
Next week or so.
Right? Because you're talking about Mark Lawrence going to be joining us. Hopefully we can get Brandon Lang worked into the show in the future as well. That'll be a lot of fun. And the Greek's always been great, the professor on handicapping. And people... You were witness to it, Lubie. I mean, you experienced it, where people would be calling from the Broward courthouse, and you were afraid to answer the phone when you saw the caller ID, thinking it was going to be another subpoena or some warrant that was issued for me. And, and then you eventually picked it up because the guy kept calling. And what was it? It was like one of the public defenders was going to go back to the office and give everybody Mark Lawrence's selections.
It was one of the lawyers or a judge?
Might have been a judge, saying, hey, who did Mark Lawrence pick? I had to put this guy in jail for 20 years.
Like, I was in a trial and I missed Mark Lawrence. And I'm like, what?
Unbelievable, man.
He's like, I'm a judge at the courthouse. I usually get to hear Lawrence on the way in, but I had to come in early for a trial. I'm like, is this happening? I'm like, Jersey? I'm like, is this Jersey?
He's a reigning like Trumpster. And meanwhile, he misses Mark Lawrence's pick. So that's how significant it was. All right, coming back with the Greek to start us off here on a Degenerate Friday in a moment. Now that.
The time.
That was great, too, because you did dodge that call like about 30 times, and you said, Defo, you want me to pick this up? It's a courthouse. What kind of jackpot are you in now?
It said courthouse, and I'm like, oh, my God.
Right? I would rather have the program director come running down the hall with that sledgehammer to break the glass.
I'm not getting in the middle of this shit.
I told you all this stuff, and you laughed at me, and then, you actually witnessed it with your own eyes, the insanity of that business. It's back in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:34. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
So I like when the guys on the CBS pregame show, you got like Boomer and all of the crew there, they're picking games without the point spread. And then they're unanimously, on the side of the favorite.
Picking games without a point spread is like telling somebody that you banged the girl last night and she was a hooker. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
Got home last night, yeah.
We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show, a Degenerate Friday edition, and no better, than to go right to the top of the Degenerate hierarchy, and that would be to bring on our good friend, the Greek, who we always enjoy having on the program. Greek, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, buddy. How you guys doing today on
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Doing okay. Couldn't be doing any better. Lubie got a new dog who's giving him all kinds of problems, and I'm blanking on mine bets, and and then regretting the fact that I didn't go ahead and enter this golf pool with the British Open. Are you involved in any way with British Open degenerate activity, Greek?
No, I am not.
Wow. Are you inclined to do this? I know you kind of stick to your things.
No, I like golf tournaments like USO, Honda, stuff like that, but I didn't do anything here.
Okay. All right. Because of the nature of the course being, it's been bitterly disappointing for me because I like it when the conditions are just this side of shit in the British Open.
yeah, and they're pretty nice right now.
Yes.
Nice. Sunny day, guys. Kite surfing in the Irish Sea or whatever that is that's behind there, Royal Liverpool. What the fuck? It's horrible. Hey, I thought of you this morning. This would be something that you might come up with. My man Phil Mushnick in the New York Post on fire. He got this from a reader, and he said, with Fox's newly configured MLB studio show of A-Rod, David Ortiz, and Derek Jeter, you could just name it Two Cheaters and a Jeter. What do you think?
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. I like that.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. It does. So what do you have on your mind here? Because, you're close to the football season. You have to be getting just gobs of information coming out of all of your sources in Las Vegas. What's the buzz here, Greek, as we get set for training camps? And some have already opened up.
The buzz was to just keep betting against the Marlins and the Yankees. And I told you guys that last week when we talked about it. I said, you know what? You got to bet on teams when they're winning and losing. Marlins have lost 90 games on the road. They're back home today. They probably pushed their plane home from St. Louis. And the Yankees, the Yankees have more problems right now than Biden. They are really in trouble.
Yeah. Maybe even a Trumpster. They might be in that category with a zillion trials coming up. Very good. Do you know that judge, by the way? You know everybody. Do you know that judge that's involved in the Trump case?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. You never dated her or anything? She seems kind of attractive, although, unfavorable rulings for us leftist, Democrat, Marxist pigs that are out here. All right. So you're betting against the Marlins. Do they turn it around at home, or is the bloom finally off the rose of this
I
Marlins
hope
season.
so. I mean, I gave them an A- the first half. They had a great season. I like the coach. They got the kid batting 400, 0. They've had a great season, but all of a sudden they come out of the second gate, and not doing well. And, I hate to see it fall apart for them because then, what's going to happen is the fans, are going to stop going and it's going to be the same old stuff. But, I think when the team's winning or losing, like I said, you just keep betting against them or not. Baseball's all streaks. Baseball, I believe, is the easiest sport to bet out of the three because there's you don't have to cover unless you're betting run line.
Yeah.
So I would keep looking at them. The Baltimore Orioles, another team that I'm shocked about that, the last couple of years before this year didn't play well, would have a lot of good rookies. But Tampa Bay gets been an unbelievable start. You think nobody's going to catch them. They were 30-9, and now the Orioles are in first place and beat them last night.
Yes.
So
Yes.
And
And
season, we know that. And then preseason football, we're going to see what happens. I think Barkley and the Giants is a mess. This whole thing with Snyder, that's crazy.
how great is that?
I
That he was holding money back from the other owners.
I don't understand how that happens. The NFL is on everything, their accounts. I could see, $1 million, $3 million. They said he was holding $44 million. How does nobody check the score? And
Well, here's the thing about that. I remember when it was popular that they would somehow bust bars and fine them heavily if they were carrying NFL games before the NFL package. And, certain bars would be showing out of town games. And, they actually, I don't know how they tracked this, but inevitably it didn't matter. You could have the most obscure joint on like Dixie Highway somewhere in a neighborhood that has nothing but industrial stuff. And sure enough, here comes an NFL narc and they would show up. So if they could track that, how did they not know that Dan Snyder, the most suspicious of
that's my point. Yeah,
Well,
there's been problems with him
dollars
for
from
years. Yeah, I don't understand it, but they got fined $60 million, which is nice. That'll come out of his $6 billion.
Imagine it.
But
It's nothing. It's like a tip.
yeah, it's a shame though because I think the NFL. It's not going to affect anything. Two things I hear all week, every day, is people. It's so hot here, and I can't wait for the NFL season.
Yes.
So people are dying for it. Preseason, Rodgers, the Jets on Hard Knocks, and this whole thing with Barkley and the Giants is a mess on both sides. If the reports are true that they're only $2 million away, and $2 million in NFL or any baseball or football, basketball contract is nothing today. You know that. That's like being worth $2,000 for us. It's crazy. I don't see how they let this go and continue because without Barkley, he's 65% of the offense. So, to me, if I was the owner, I'd get both sides together and go, you know what, we're going to resolve this. It happened years ago with Emmitt Smith. He missed the first two games in Dallas. Then Kelly pushed his fist through a wall, and then Jerry Jones paid him, and they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Just pay the guy for $2 million, meet in the middle, do something. But all the distractions, I think, are just crazy. I was surprised Hopkins went to Tennessee, but he went for the money. And I think, obviously the people are in camp already, rookies. It's going to be exciting. And college football, Lane Kiffin had a good press conference yesterday. He went off on everybody, which he always does, which is great. But, I think within the next week or two, football, preseason starts and people are dying for it. They just can't wait.
Pretty much so, yeah. Bad time for the Marlins to do a vanishing act
exactly.
here in the standings because they were. It was kind of nice to see. We love Tommy Hutton.
Yeah.
He's been a huge Marlins advocate forever. I remember when he used to call talk shows and be screaming, "You guys don't know what you're missing out here, these young guys." And we think, okay, Tommy, we love you, but you're out of your mind on this. And this year having a surprisingly good year and started to draw like 20,000 for afternoon games on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, all right, maybe this will be all right, but it's fading quickly.
Gotta wait.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that.
You got the big thing with Messi tonight where seats are going for outrageous amounts of money. You think you were going to see the Pope. But
supposedly, that's come down. We were just talking about that. And the prices are like under a deuce for.
Well, they don't know what he's
tickets.
going to play. Like this isn't like he's going to play 85 of the 90 minutes. Like they said, he'll get in there at some point. Like if you're someone spending money on a ticket, you don't want to spend $2,000 on a guy that may not even show up.
Yeah, but people already spend some people already spend 5,000 or 10,000.
Yes.
And now they're saying it.
Yes,
they're known as schmucks. Yeah, those guys. Yeah. Don't you feel like a schmuck? You paid $2,000 for a ticket to see this MLS garbage.
Springsteen doesn't
I mean, think about it.
go up or whatever.
I don't know if you made any correlation. I guess it's unfair, for an all-star team to go against an established club from the Premier League in Europe. But they had this, exhibition against the MLS All-Stars, one of the Premier League teams, and they knocked the shit out of them. They had to hold back to keep from beating them by more than 5. It was like 5-0. And I'm thinking, Messi, this is going to be like him going out there at some pickup game in Hialeah, compared to what he was used to.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, again, it's good for South Florida. It's good for the league. And, we've had a very good year with the Heat and the Panthers. And hopefully the Dolphins have a good season.
I hope so. You were the voice of optimism and goodness and light here on the program today. All right, let me ask you this, though, Greek. The women's soccer team, U.S. soccer team, goes against Vietnam. And I suggested something I never thought, being a child of the 60s and, growing up in that Vietnam era and protesting against the war, that I would say I would be inclined to take the points with Vietnam over the United States. You have to lay $25,000, it turns out, to win $100 if you want to bet the U.S. women's team. The over-under is 6.5 goals, and that's assuming that the Americans are going to score more than 7 or 7 on their own, because they're assuming that the other team is going to get shut out, Vietnam. Would you get involved in a game like this for any reason?
No.
Would you take a shot with Vietnam in the points?
I would not take a shot with anything like that. I don't like to bet against our country. And I don't bet on Olympics. I have some morals. They're hard to find.
Really? That's amazing. I could see where, there was actually betting being encouraged by FanDuel on the Special Olympics, if you will, which, some people would find extremely offensive. And I probably would, follow into that camp.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's strong rumors that from what I'm hearing, that the Hard Rock might put on their betting site before August 26th.
Nice.
Oh, yeah? Okay. And what happened with, roulette and craps? Is that coming along for the ride also?
I think that's coming along.
Well,
Okay.
Is it just Hard Rock, or is it all the Seminole associated places? And also, because remember, originally you were going to have like Gulfstream and I think Hialeah ushered in.
Yes.
Are those still? Is that still the case, or is this just Seminole official property?
No, I think it's everything. I think it's Kennel Club and
really?
Gulfstream too.
Wow.
Again, these are things I'm hearing from people at the Hard Rock. They could be true. They could be not.
So Coconut Creek, that's a Seminole place too, and they have a lot of space. That'd be freaking amazing of all these places.
They have a nice little setup there. I don't know if it's big enough to accommodate the number of people that are going to be just giddy sitting there watching football games on a Sunday and, getting clobbered over the head, for $16 drinks. You'd almost be better off going to the ballpark at that point, would you not?
I've said it a long time to you, and you notice people don't realize the amount of money that people bet.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll see it. You will see it. And the money that's in New York and New Jersey, and now it's going to be legal. My buddy called me yesterday in Kentucky coming up.
And Maine also got on board.
Yeah, Maine. Yeah, so you can get
who's gambling in Maine? I mean, you got some lobster fishermen up there and a couple of guys that are, thinking about going out on the Andrea Gale. They put that boat back together.
In the Middle East right now, 3 a.m. on whether or not Aaron Judge is going to come back to play. I mean, people bet everything.
No, I love it now. I mean, especially on TV, you're watching a game, and in the middle of the game, they encourage you to do something. Like, all of a sudden, the odds have switched, and the Angels are down to the Yankees 7-5 in the 9th inning, and you're getting like 80-1 if you take the Angels. And you're thinking, yeah, okay, I'll take a shot with that. And they won.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable the stuff that happens. And years ago, Jimmy Agreed couldn't say numbers on the
Exactly.
No. Phyllis George was puking up pea soup. Yeah, when he mentioned betting and odds.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. But we'll see what happens. But always good talking to you guys, and we'll get ready.
That's it?
And then,
all right.
Next one. I gave you 20 minutes. That's what I give most people.
Well, you were just getting rolling here, Greek. It was great. I mean, we love you. No, I know you got to get rolling.
Next time you're live, I'm going to come by and see you guys.
There you go.
Come on by. Yeah, we're out all the time. So we'll be up there in that area. I'm sure again soon.
Yeah, Lubie, send me a text when you're going to be live again.
Yeah.
All right, Greek.
Delaware area. I'll let you know, my friend.
Excellent,
All
my
right,
friend.
buddy.
All
Good.
right, very good.
Seeing you. Have a good weekend. Miss you guys.
I will miss you
You're a
too.
great American.
Hey.
Okay, great.
Well,
I
think
like when
it's-
the guests blow you off,
Yeah, all right, no,
before you
see,
even have a chance to say thanks. Hey, look, I gotta go. What the hell?
that was great.
Listen, DeForest, come up with your own material. I know I'm being used to fill time. I mean, no. We love the Greek, man. He's great. Mushnick was on fire. I mean, he was all over. Jim Starney would not be happy to read. I wish I knew I was sophisticated enough to be able to transmit articles via text. You're good at that, Lubie, right?
I guess you could screenshot it, or you just.
I mean, because I have the actual paper. So what am I going to do? Take a picture of the, parts of the article and then piece it together like a ransom note?
I guess. Or see, if you had it online, you could do the link.
Well, I mean, Mushnick has a particular. He can't stand the U.S. women's soccer team and the U.S. women's soccer program. Now, I'll say this: I really enjoy reading his column because I mean, he's what would it be? Acerbic,
Yes, that's definitely
cynical, sarcastic, and he points out a lot of the flaws. But I mean, he's I would have to say he's a bit of an extremist in some of his opinions.
a bit.
In that, well, I mean, everything can't be horrible, or why would it be? I've said this for a million years. If you hate everything about sports, then why are you a sports fan?
That's my thing. He hates everything. Like you can't hate it. You can't.
He's old school. I mean, he embraces really old school principles.
Okay, well that's stupid.
I mean, some of his things, and it's repetitive, but what isn't in terms of sports analysis? Where, he's always railing away, and he's absolutely right. I mean, a guy was lifted from a game, a relief pitcher, he comes in the seventh inning, and he gets the three guys out on 4 pitches, okay? And instead of leaving him in for the 8th inning, because the guy's on a roll, he didn't even break a sweat yet, the manager pulls him, and the next guy comes in and gives up 5 runs and loses the game.
Yeah, we've talked that they're a slave to the numbers in a way that it's a detriment. Like
No one better example of that than your man, Aaron Boone.
Oh my man.
Who, no matter what, the guy could come in and strike out the sides on 9 pitches, right? I mean, just a perfect inning. And he's out of there. I tell you what, you got to bring in so-and-so.
Yeah, it's dumb.
He's our cookie cutter 8th inning pitcher, even though he got shelled 3 nights in a row. Let's bring him in again.
Look, Earl Weaver, you talked about it, was an early adopter of numbers. There's nothing wrong with using numbers to try and make smart decisions. But you can also use your head and your heart. Like you have to have a feel for when the numbers are right and when the numbers aren't necessary. If a dude's hot and you can see he's not gassed, well, the next guy's a lefty, and who gives a shit? Like he's a pitcher in the major leagues. Like he's supposed to be.
I want to go with a hot guy. Guy comes in out of the bullpen, looks like he's got his good stuff tonight. I'm sticking with it. Right? Most of these guys, I mean, he also points out a lot of these relievers that come in at that time in the game were starters at one time in their career, and they're more than accustomed to throwing a few innings. Yeah, it's not like you have your closer, and he's only going to pitch the 9th inning, and maybe once in a blue moon he might go 2, or trying to get 4 outs.
I'm not
anyway, what's that, Louis? Go ahead.
I'm not you where I will mock the analytics. I understand their purpose. It's just sometimes reality is staring you in the face, and it's like, dude, the guy's fucking cooking. Let him go.
Well, he gets 3 outs on 4 pitches. I mean, I'm hardly thinking about removing him. Although, the common wisdom would be, well, he did his job, and that's what we have him for, and that's why we have these other guys. We are, after all, a team, Louis. Yeah, a team that is being handled by a blithering idiot. Unbelievable. Anyway, on this women's soccer thing, and Sarni, by the way, clarifies for those that don't have our chat line on, that he is a fan of Phil Mushnick. And suggests that we should have him on. We have had Mushnick on in the past, but it was the distant past, and I don't believe he's really inclined to do a lot of talk, show type of.
I don't think all the people I've reached out to and found from the post over the years were guys I had seen on media, and I knew they were open to it.
Mike Vaccaro, Len Robbins were guys that were commonly being interviewed.
Reporters, I would see him on ESPN all the time. I was actually a fan of Robbins, so when he got back.
We've had Mushnick on, did we not? During the time that we were working together, do you remember ever having Mushnick on? Because I have had him on interviews.
Yeah, I never had him on. I know you're a fan of him, but I've never seen or heard him anywhere.
Okay. No, he used to come on occasionally with me. I guess this was in a prior lifetime to our 940 days together, Lubie.
Yeah.
But he would come on, and he was cool. I mean, because I enjoy every time I see a Mushnick column, I'm going to read at least around the margins there. And then the main gist, he's talking about how contrived celebrations need to disappear in Major League Baseball. And he's probably right about that.
But are they contrived? Like,
Right?
contrived means
Yeah.
phony. Like, I don't think they're phony.
Guy gets a walk-off walk, after some disastrous inning by a relief pitcher who shouldn't have been in the game in the first place because the guy that got the side out in order in the eighth was lifted by an Aaron Boone, and then everybody goes running out on the field there. It's like, come on, man. The guy he took 4 out of the strike zone and was lucky that he didn't do his usual thing and hit a flare pop-up to the catcher. Mushnick is not a fan of the women's behavior and characterizes it and says that Fox now is trying to project this image that they're a bunch of badass women.
Okay, why is that?
Like they, are in some, biker club or something.
I don't know. What does that mean? Everything.
Didn't you like the wholesome image of the Mia Hamms of the world?
No, I'm not a right-wing sexist asshole. No, I don't care about women have to be genteel. That's about. I know you like Mushnick, and that's fine because he harkens to an old day. He harkens to a right-wing loon, is what he harkens to, and that's fine if you believe those things. Like our friend Scott says some shit that I think are ridiculous, so I don't even respond to him on the chat. You're allowed to believe those things, but I don't believe them. No, women are allowed to be just as passionate and fiery.
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, here's his point there, and I would have to agree with some of this.
I don't agree with that.
Although I don't know exactly what you do about it, and unfortunately, this is the kind of behavior that is encouraged today in sport because this is how you attract media attention.
Yes,
which is something that largely this women's collection what was ignored until they had this very lovable team, Lubie, very likable team that was writing a Cinderella story.
Okay.
And now it's just, it's gone a little bit in the other direction. He says the last U.S. Women's World Cup soccer team, despite winning it all, also won the widespread condemnation of many Americans for the team's obnoxious center stage behavior, Lubie, from public vulgarities to excessive showboating, U.S. anthem kneeling, and mockery of opponents, and running up a score 13-0 over Thailand, to Captain Megan Rapinoe's relentless all-about-me leadership. Right-headed Americans and the rest of the world recognize this team as graceless, classless, and bad winners. What do you make of that?
Only thing I don't like is showboating, and we've talked about that. I think he is confusing being excited with showboating. I think in baseball they need it because baseball is boring as fuck, and kids don't watch baseball. So I'm sorry, old man. Your sport's about to fucking die. Baseball needs to.
You're calling this Mushnick column the
I think he sounds
rambling madness of an old fart.
I think he sounds like an old man who's bitter and wants the day gone by. Listen, old white guy.
Wow.
The days gone by sucked for women and minorities. So I don't want the days gone by because they were shitty. The days gone by were good for you in your borough in New York. The days gone by weren't good for everyone else. So fuck you. He sounds like an asshole.
I mean, he drew a fuck you from Mike Lubie Lubitz.
Look, I'm not a big showboating guy, but he doesn't. He doesn't like baseball showboating, and he doesn't like the women showboating.
No, he doesn't like any kind of ceremonial shit.
Well,
except maybe I don't know. What was with the Tommy Smith, John Carlos thing? You think he was a fan of that? I think he was. Yeah, the black gloves at the Olympics.
Look, he's allowed to have his opinion, and I'm allowed to have mine. I like to tell the women, well, you have to just be sweet and kind.
Did I get those names right?
Yes, you got the names right.
Okay.
To be sweet and kind. Phil Mushnick doesn't like the women being aggressive and passionate. They have to be sweet and kind women when they celebrate a World Cup victory.
He just doesn't want to be an asshole.
Okay, but
I don't know. We're going to get the professor in on this thing here because he's used to your passionate outbursts of negativity, and he's joining us right now. And of course, we always love the professor on the program. The big board is just a giant streaming hit. And Professor, how are you? First of all.
I wasn't. I number one. I hear we're a little late this morning because the dog ate Lubie's homework, which is pretty funny. And now we're mad because Phil Mushnick said he. I mean, look, I will be honest, and I am not. You know me. I'm not like Republican. You have to respect everything about America. You can't ever criticize anybody. That's not me. I thought the last World Cup, and of course it was set against the political backdrop where Megan Rapinoe had a lot of things to say about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump had a lot of things. I thought the celebration at the end of the last World Cup, I don't want to go as far as say disrespectful, but was in bad taste, where the women did not respect the flags, where Rapinoe threw the flag on the ground to go take a selfie with her teammates. I thought that went too far. So if Mushnick's reaction was in reaction to that, I get it. I genuinely do. But that said, women athletes can celebrate just, when Tiger does the fist pump, when he makes a putt. Like Serena could do the same thing when she, nails a serve, or when, Megan Rapinoe kicks her 19th penalty kick of the soccer tournament, because much like Messi, that's all she does at her advanced age.
Well, it's easy to spot the fouls on the one with the purple hair. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, the stuff with the flag in the middle of being on the team. I'm not saying that's not douchey. But the kneeling, because he's an anti-kneeler, it's like, okay.
Look, most of this stuff I don't have a problem with. I will say, I remember the last Women's World Cup go around. I did think the stuff with the flag after they won wasn't bad taste for, part of being a national team. You shouldn't be, but look, I got to be honest. This is my own personal bias, because every time I see someone taking a selfie, I want to throw dishwasher soap in their eyes or something. I in general can't stand people taking selfies. So when you chuck the flag to the ground to go take selfies, I'm probably going to think you're a jerk off.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, very Mushnick-esque, actually. And
Scarney telling us Rapinoe has never missed a penalty kick in her life. Who cares? Honestly, is there a more useless skill in any sport
than the penalty kick? I know.
You
were with me on the Messi thing, too.
Yes, he is.
The goalie dives out of the. All you got to do is just like a little fake, and then the goalie's going to dive out of the way, and then you just got to kick it down the. I'm sorry.
His favorite, your mother.
It would be like putting a cornerback on the goal line and putting a quarterback on the 20, and then telling the quarterback, well, all you got to do is outrun the guy for 20 yards. He's got to run 100. It's like the easiest thing in any sport, and soccer fans get so stupidly excited for it.
Yeah.
The goal's the size of a tour bus. How the hell do you miss it?
Yeah, Jason Aldean could fit all those CDs.
No, I go the other way. Guys like Beckham, who famously choked on penalty kicks. How the hell did you do that? You got to be the biggest choker on the planet that you missed the entire net.
How about you missed the entire net? Yeah, that's a beauty. It's one thing the guy, just out of blind luck dives the right way and makes a save.
Yeah.
But it is the old Brooklyn thing. We used to do that. I mean, you're going out for a pass maybe in a touch football game, and instead of doing the head fake to the inside, you would just look the guy in the eyes and go, "Your mother," and then blow past him.
Honestly, for people who are impressed with penalty kicks, I guess that's your thing. To me, it's the most pointless exercise in any major real sport. It's so stupid.
I just know they celebrate. You said it. They celebrate shocked like it's a game-winning goal on 4 defenders. It's like, dude, the net was open.
I like after the penalty kick misses too, you can attack and try to score off of that.
Yes, you can.
So the goalie makes a miraculous, I guess the Powerball odds are similar to the odds of actually stopping a penalty kick by virtue of a save. And then everybody's on top of the goalie, right?
Well,
so one time they don't care about the offsides.
It's a lot of luck. You got to have a combination of things. Number one, you got to guess the right way, and number two, you got to have the random jerk off penalty kick taker who actually kicks before he lets the goalie dive out of the way.
Yeah,
I mean, look,
exactly.
This is actually a very simple exercise. All you got to do is give the little hip fake or whatever it is they do, and wait for the goalie to dive the other way, and then kick it down. You don't even have to go the other way. You just kick it down the middle after the goalie
right down the middle
dived out of the way.
Every time
Messi hits a little dribbler, it looks like he's putting on some shitty par 3 golf course.
And
Hollywood
100%
Hollywood
of the time.
Lakes used to be. Yeah, unbelievable.
They never missed a penalty kick or made 8 penalty kicks in a World Cup. Blah blah blah. Totally unimpressive to me.
All right, that's for you, Jimmy Sarney. We love you, but that is the professor's position on that. All right, are you playing break music underneath there? Or are we taking a break and then coming back with the professor?
On the Mushnick thing, I do have to say one thing, because I know Brent Musburger is your man. Compared to Musburger's reaction on Juan Carlos and Tommy Smith, Mushnick, very solid. And if nobody's ever seen the YouTube clip, everybody ought to go look up Brent Musburger was doing news in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Watch
he was
his
appalled by it.
racist-ass reaction to the 19th. Yeah.
Musburger's great. I mean, because his ambition to bury America is being fulfilled with that Las Vegas Sports Information Network. That is, is it Information Network? It's
Yeah,
LV.
VSIN. It's VSIN, but
Yeah.
I don't know if he's attached to VSIN. You want him to be involved with VSIN.
I believe he is. He founded it, I think, and I'm not sure what his involvement is now, but it's great. And he was one of the early guys. I mean, the reason we love him is he was one of the early guys that alluded to the fact that he was betting everything. That
but
this free throw may be of no significance to anybody but me and you, Jimmy.
He always bet like the Midwest Big Ten teams.
Yeah.
And he always got buried by the Southern teams, and then he would go into like how much I hate the South routine for the last 3 quarters of the game. Of course, most notably emphasizing that famous Jimmy Johnson Notre Dame blowout,
That was
where
tremendous.
he did everything but just dropped the F-bomb at Jimmy Johnson for the last 3 quarters of that game.
I think Musburger was rooting for the over in that game, though, as I recall. I mean, it was Parsegian that was crying, and Musburger was like, "Yeah, Jimmy."
No. They were
He was
hating on
appalled
the
by it too.
Hurricane.
Did he have to feign that he was?
Honestly, it was like they both wanted to go, give Jerry Faust a hug after that.
From Moeller High School in Cincinnati. I mean, all of those big fat linemen that he was feeding Notre Dame all those years, and they give him the job. That was incredible. All right, we're going to come back then in a moment with the big board and the professor and some predictions, Lubie, and that'll give you a chance to take care of the dog. You're a long-time dog lover and owner.
I am,
Professor. So
I heard Lubie had some adventures this morning.
He's just starting his journey. Yes. This is like the Bachelorette. He's just starting his journey with his dog.
Woken up and it's a pain.
Yeah. All right, coming back in a moment with the professor, the big board, and some selections on something in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:05.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Great, because as cold as Jersey Kyle has been with his degenerate stimulus package horses, this man has been on fire with Australian rules football to the point where people are calling him Crocodile as he joins us here on the show, the Crocodile himself, the professor, now 14-8 in documented picks on Australian rules football. Professor, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Defo. In fact, not only am I 14-8 and picking Australian rules football, I am 6-0 in Australia's favorite national game. Is this or is this not a night?
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. A Degenerate Friday underway, and we circle into the second hour of the program. Be with you till 9 o'clock here. The Gambling Gourmet, Mike Mayo, who informs us on a chat line that he covered that 1998 Women's World Cup final at the Rose Bowl, which I would have looked at as a free trip to California. Would have been fantastic, and won an award for his writing. There was a time where he actually exhibited those intellectual writing skills that he has.
I don't feel like that award was hard to win either. Because honestly, all you had to do was write anything that was interesting, other than Brandi Chastain took her shirt off. Everybody on the planet was like, that's all they wanted to talk about was, ooh, Brandi Chastain.
I thought that was great, though. I love that.
Yeah, who cared?
Yeah,
she had a bra. She wasn't topless.
No, but I mean the whole thing was.
I know that. Let's be honest, she wasn't particularly big chested either, so like it wasn't that impressive. It wasn't that big a deal. Nothing you don't see on the beach down here 13 times a day.
It wasn't like Adrian Barbeau was going to an East.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Enough of that. I I don't want to
I
bring
mean,
up any,
I'm not going to say, but I am going to say if Julie Ertz did it, it would have been a little bit of a bigger story.
What is it now that DeSantis is, he's trying to sue Bud Light for using the transgender person in the ad? That's
Really?
crazy. Yeah, that's his latest
Yeah,
his latest theme. I mean,
honestly, it's actually getting
how
kind of
obsessed is this guy, man?
it's
I
getting
mean,
kind of comical. I guess
yeah,
in a poll yesterday, because Trump came out and of course did a social media announcement.
yeah.
DeSantis in a recent poll is actually polling behind the Vivek Ramaswamy guy. So
Oh yeah.
okay,
Well,
yeah, it's going well, Rod. Good job.
way to go, Ronnie boy.
He's ruining our state.
Meanwhile, I just got a letter from Citizens Insurance. I was afraid
Yeah.
to even open it. I don't even want to look inside for fear of what number might be there now. I mean, not to bring up any degenerate indiscretions of the past or anything along those lines or anything that was particularly painful. But are you involved? I would imagine you're involved somewhat, at least, in this year's British Open.
I am.
Okay, and who do you have?
The way the scores are going this morning, because Brian Harman came out and is going really low. The only guy I have who is even remotely in contention is Spieth. And the way the weather looks today, I'm probably going to need Spieth to go real low today to have anybody in contention headed into the weekend. I did have Ricky Fowler, who has been playing.
Where's he at? I didn't see him.
Playing great yesterday, and then took a triple bogey on 18 to go from
over
2 under to 1 under, and
Yeah.
the 18, if you know, on Liverpool is a very birdieable par 5. So realistically, he should have been like 3 under, maybe even worst case 2 under going into today. Instead, he's 1 over and pretty much out of it at this point, barring some miracle round here. So we're going to need Jordan Spieth to make a performance this afternoon.
He's been steady in this particular tournament, and managed to hack his way around without too much difficulty yesterday. Did you see that Justin Thomas butchered that 18th hole yesterday? He was already like 8 over par, and I think
it's one thing if you're playing like crap and you go in and you play. It's another if you're playing 2 under and you take a snowman on a birdieable par 5. That's just a disaster.
McIlroy had an adventure there where he was in the trap, I guess,
Good.
at 2.
Screw him. Screw McIlroy.
Then leaves it in the trap, and then he has such a horrible lie that he literally has to extend one leg along the ground as if he was like in some kind of infantry position, as he's got one leg in the trap and come out over that ridiculous incline where you essentially have to hit the ball straight up in the air and yet somehow blow it forward. And he gets out of it, puts it right by the hole, and I think he got out of it with a par. So that was pretty remarkable. Stayed in contention.
I'm trying to get into the stories here since I'm probably not going to end up winning this one, or at least not looking good after first round. And I got to say, it's really hard. I know everybody in the world is rooting for Fleetwood because he's an Englishman, and an Englishman when then he's Mick Fleetwood's nephew and blah, 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 blah. But when you bet him down the way he got bet down in this tournament, everybody in the world is picking a guy. It is very difficult for me to get on the bandwagon. And then we have the story of this South African amateur who, again, I want to root for, but does every South African look like he's just come off kicking a black person in the face? Like every white South African golfer look just inherently evil, and he is not an exception. He definitely looks like he killed Mel Gibson's wife in Lethal Weapon Part 2.
He's hacking it up all over the place this morning. He's already, 1 over after 1, and he's in a bad spot on 2.
Yeah, I get the amateur aspect, and I get why people are charmed by that. And I am a little bit myself, but, I don't know. I guess I'm the only American who still has that bias left. Now we embrace South Africans for some reason, but I can't get into that. I've seen Blood Diamonds too many times.
Can we get a cease and desist for having this reflecting in the background here, the live coverage of the British Open? Is that going to be a thing?
Honestly, you probably could.
Right? Because we were talking about it earlier where, how did those, and you own a restaurant, back in the day, I don't know if you remember how they used to have these NFL narcs. And somehow anybody that was pirating a game that wasn't supposed to be broadcast in that area, they were able to find them. And then, while they were able to do that, it would be some bar like in the middle of, some hick town in West Virginia. And they would get busted for broadcasting a Steelers game.
legitimately, I don't know if you remember the first time where we were working together, where you went out to the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
which I am allowed to say because I'm not using it for promotional purposes. You sent back to the station like a 5-page long document about the instances where you are and you are not allowed to say the word Super Bowl.
Yes.
Instead of you're supposed to say the big game. And I, at the time, thought it was the funniest goddamn thing I had ever read.
It's amazing.
Because it was so ragingly insane.
Yes.
And then that year and pretty much every year since, I discovered if you are in or close to an NFL market, like if you're in Palm Beach County, it's close enough to Miami. The NFL sends rats out to look
Yes.
for, are you advertising a Super Bowl party instead of a big game party?
Right.
And like I have told, like bar owners and restaurant owners, like legitimately, you need to be careful about this because literally the NFL has people who go around town looking at the goddamn poster you have hanging outside of your bar and like,
Sure.
yeah, this is for promotional purposes. You can't use the word Super Bowl. That's the stupidest thing I've
It's
ever
insane.
seen.
Yeah. But they
Sure.
couldn't detect that Dan Snyder, most
exactly.
unscrupulous,
Exactly.
suspicious of suspects, was ripping them off for $50 million.
I
They
genuinely
could come by the foundry, and if you had a little thing that said, Super Bowl, special, you're going to the Broward County Jail, man. And having to bail
I
yourself
genuinely
out.
feel like at this point, after that picture of Jerry Jones being a part of a racist crowd when he was 14 years old in Arkansas, after that came out, we definitively knew Dan Snyder and his private investigators had dirt on everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, if
They
you
had to get 'em
shoplifted
out.
a pack of gum when you were 8 from the local 7-Eleven, Dan Snyder knows about it and is prepared to release the pictures. I mean,
And,
honestly,
I would imagine
was
there'll be a
more
book
remarkable?
forthcoming.
Jerry Jones has been famous for like 40 years. He's been
Yes.
famous since the day he bought the
Jeez.
Cowboys.
It is.
Nobody had ever heard of this picture, but we get into this Dan Snyder thing, and all of a sudden there's a picture of Jerry Jones like trying to stop a black kid from entering a public school in Arkansas when
Yes.
Jerry Jones was 14 years old. I mean,
Huh.
I feel like at this point it's pretty conclusive. Dan Snyder has the dirt on everybody, so don't F with Dan Snyder.
They turned around Kate Smith's picture in the Philadelphia Flyers corridor leading to the ice. 'Cause,
Well, no, I mean, very clearly, like Dan Snyder has like 3 Chinese sex slaves who jerked off Robert Kraft actually living in his basement. Come after me, Bob, and I am prepared to go. You mess with my $6 billion, and I am ready to come after you.
Yeah, you're done. You're toast. All right. Any thing that you're looking at in terms of predictions?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting that Lubie played the Australian rules clip coming into this one because we have the game of the year in the AFL this year.
Mortal lock?
I don't know if it's a mortal lock, but it should be an amazing game. Collingwood is playing Port Adelaide. We're 17 games into the season. The Magpies going up against the Power. They're first and second place. The Power, who are at home, trail by 4 points coming into this, so they desperately need a win. But the Magpies playing very strong, and Port Adelaide has actually flagged the last couple weeks. It's a pick'em game, and on this show we are Magpies all the way. So we're taking the Magpies on Sunday morning. Sunday morning, 5:40 a.m. U.S. time. So we can go right from the Magpies into some chick soccer and then the British Open final. And you have a huge Sunday of Australian themed sports. All we need is Cam Smith to get in the tournament, get into contention here. And we'll have just like an Aussie day. Like Greg Norman will be sitting at home doing whatever it is that makes Greg Norman happy. I don't know.
Probably counting those Saudi millions, unless they turned on him.
I was going to say cutting off a journalist's head, but
How we're laughing at that. I mean, it shows you that the show can go in bizarre directions. All right, that's good.
So
not
so
the apple, not the cherry, not the peach, but the Magpies.
The Magpies
is going to be our dessert of choice. They're searching for a ball here. It's not Lamprecht.
I love both of you.
Although,
I have it on too.
They have 20 guys. This looks like me back in the day when I first was obsessed with golf. where you were down to your last range ball in the bag, so you had to look for it.
Oh, but it's by the stands though, so they may do a Spieth and just
This has
throw
Spieth
the
written all
ball
over
down
it. Yeah, yeah.
throw the ball down the fairway.
Put it on the green. Placement on the green. Yes. All right. We're going to get to the big board now. The big board for this week. The professor, once again, is the master of ceremonies for one of the fine segments in all of streaming and sports talk in general. What direction are you going in this week?
Before I do that, I want to know what the dog destroyed this morning. That's what I
He
want
didn't
to
destroy
hear.
anything. He's just awakened. Like I told you yesterday, he was sleeping when I would get up, so I wouldn't have to worry about him. But he's awakened, so I have to walk him, and that's a whole fucking endeavor. And then when he does his business, it's like a fucking horse. So like, like little dogs, it's little. You pick it up.
Yeah.
So, Lubie, have you joined the club? Have you learned the glory of carrying the bag around with you now when you take him out on a walk?
It's fine.
Or are you the guy who just does like the?
Oh, you got a bag. No.
I'd rather wear a colostomy bag than.
You need to learn to do the fake out where you put the bag over your hand.
Oh
like
yeah.
And then you reach like 3 inches to the side and pretend to pick it up so the neighbors, if they're watching you, think you pick it up, and then you just
what a gentleman.
Yeah.
No, I pick up the shit, but I forgot he's been fucking weird. He only goes in our yard, so he hasn't gone on walks. So I was like, okay, fuck it, I don't need a bag. So of course that's the day that he goes and drops a huge one on someone's goddamn yard.
You need a hefty bag with this dog.
So I had to go back. I didn't want to just leave it there because like everyone in this neighborhood is really cool. So I didn't want to be the jerk that leaves the shit. So I drove back there because it was the other side of the goddamn block and we had to do the fucking show. So, and the thing is, they're liquidy. So I used the bag and it still left more of a mess. So I'm like kicking at it, trying to make it better. It's a whole fucking shit.
If you carry a bottle of water to disperse it. But I like that Lubie had to take the station wagon back to pick it up because it was that large that you needed the trunk space.
Exactly.
Lubie's dog's stool examination here on the Degenerate Friday edition of the program. All right, take us out of this shit, Professor, and let's post a big board.
Okay, so as you know, Defo, the big board has a history of being somewhat engaging in the negative and the sarcastic. It's kind of what we do around these parts, but I don't want to make like I hate everybody on the planet. I am not
sweetness and light coming.
I am not a misanthrope. And the one time we did do kind of a positive one, well, we got accused of maybe engaging in some sarcasm on that one. When I said nice things about a Molina brother, just as an example, I was accused of perhaps engaging in a little sarcasm. But there are guys we generally like, and we thought we'd actually have a celebration because this man deserves it in this week of all time. And so that's this big board this week. The big board of why Charles Barkley is absolutely the greatest. Why we love Charles Barkley, who himself is known to be at times a little dark and sarcastic. And maybe that's why we at the big board appreciate him the way we do. But that's this week's big board. And it does delve into a little bit of a political issue that Charles stepped into this week.
All right.
So that's this week's big board of why Charles Barkley is the greatest. And that starts with number 5. Charles Barkley by himself makes TNT's NBA on TNT the greatest pregame show in the history of pregame shows. And I'm sitting here thinking about it. If Charles Barkley's not on this show, it is very possibly the worst pregame show in the history of pregame shows.
Shaq says nothing. You can't even
Again, Kenny Smith's a pretty sharp analyst, but he's Tar Heel scum. I don't want to listen to anything he has to say.
Tar Heel scum. That's great.
Like Tar Heel scum.
Yeah, Tar Heel scum. Nice. Yeah.
Shaq, everybody likes Shaq, but let's be honest, Shaq's kind of freaking corny. Like, he sits there and laughs at his own jokes. He thinks the fact that they call the segment Shaq'd in the Fool is genuinely funny. Like, you have to explain to him that puns aren't actually funny. That's not a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
I like Shaq, but Shaq in and of himself is not actually entertaining. Ernie Johnson is at this point kind of a sad story because somehow they bring up the fact that he has cancer like, I don't know, 5 times a show. Like it's. I think he's a talented host. He's one of the best studio hosts, but at this point, his narrative's kind of freaking depressing.
And
then you have Barkley, who
something
comes
that
on,
you leave feeling good about. Yeah.
and then you have Barkley, who comes on and legitimately, much like Judge Janine on Fox News, seems like there's a chance he might be drunk at least half the time on air. Says whatever the hell he wants to say, and it is consistently both insightful and entertaining, even though, honestly, a lot of it is just phenomenally negative. There's nothing more entertaining than listening to Charles Barkley describe how many dudes can't play in the NBA.
Yes.
So Charles Barkley, in and of himself, has made TNT's NBA on TNT the best pregame and postgame show in the history of pregame and postgame shows. And I think you got to appreciate that.
Definitely deserves a round of applause for that, for sure. All right, that's number 5.
I mean, I don't know if they
pregame show.
do Emmys for this, but if they do, Barkley
They do,
should have like 10 of them.
Every year. Yeah, they win them every
They
year.
win it every year.
They
this show.
should. Because, I mean, let's be honest. Every NFL show is pure garbage at this point.
Yes.
And, yeah, I mean, again.
ESPN was a disaster with Lubie's favorite, Mike Greenberg.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And all of these other fools, Stephen A. Smith and Jalen Rose has become, I don't know what he's become. He doesn't say anything. And whoever else, Woj, who, has information, but he's a stiff.
Yep.
Number 4.
Yes.
In an America that is plagued by morbid obesity, Charles Barkley is and always has been the hero America needs. Like when we watch these pro athletes.
Is that Mayo in that picture? It looks like
I
Mayo.
believe that's Auburn's coach back in the 1980s.
Second from the right.
On the left,
Yeah.
Barkley on the right. I don't know who the guy in the middle is. Probably some random Auburn player from like 1984. And they are, of course, chucking down on some Pizza Hut there. Again, Charles Barkley, the fat guy hero America has always needed.
Yes.
For those who don't remember, actually, Barkley, for a dude who was legitimately fat when he was playing in college in the NBA, was the most ridiculous. And it has been lost, honestly, on this generation of just how good a player and athlete he was. Chuck Daly famously said during the Dream Team that he thought Barkley was actually a better athlete, not a better basketball player than Michael Jordan was. And we saw it in the Dream Team where Barkley was the most dominant player. And we saw it in the years where Barkley slimmed down. He was absolutely a ridiculous athlete, particularly when he was in shape. But again, for an America who celebrates all these super genetic freaks that none of us could ever hope to be like, Charles Barkley was always the fat guy hero America needs.
You know how we feel about fat guys in sports. I mean, we love them. We embrace them warmly. Our favorite athletes are the fat guys. Yeah. Well, what's funny is when you see old clips of Barkley, and he was known, affectionately as the round mound of rebound, and widely so.
That's the one that took
off. He didn't look that big to me. I mean, he almost looks svelte.
That's the one that took off, but it is worth noting. I thought when he was at Auburn, there was a better one, which was he had 2 nicknames. Round mound of rebound was the one that stuck, but he was also called by some writers the Crisco Kid, which I thought was an even better nickname, to be brutally honest.
That is a beauty. All right, that's number 4. The hero we need, a fat guy who was a great
number
athlete.
3, and again, Michael Jordan gets all the credit here. I don't think he actually deserves it. Even more than his playing days, that the kids these days do not get the Barkley Nike commercials is, I think, a huge loss to history, because all the best Nike commercials were Charles Barkley commercials. Jordan got praised for the Spike Lee commercials, and they're so great. In America pretended for 5 minutes that like we actually thought Spike Lee was funny as opposed to just annoying. But Barkley had of course, the one that Barkley's remembered for is the "I'm Not a Role Model" commercial, which again goes back to the issue of Charles Barkley getting to say whatever the hell he wanted to say, and America instantly accepted it, which is great. And it was a great commercial, but the Barkley funny commercials were so much better than any Jordan commercial ever. You had Barkley versus Godzilla, my personal favorite, Barkley on Broadway, where Barkley sung a show tune for a minute and a half. You had Barkley Late at Night, where Barkley played a talk show host whose Ed McMahon was Humpty Hump, and whose main guest was a San Diego chicken. You should absolutely YouTube that if you don't remember it. And he screamed at David Robinson for 30 seconds of the commercial at a time when everybody in America loved David Robinson.
Yeah.
The Barkley Nike commercials were so much better than any other commercials during the sneaker wars back in those days. And he gets absolutely no credit for it. All anybody remembers is Air Jordan and the Jordan commercials and the Jordan brand. And great, Michael Jordan's a great player. We're not trying to dispute that fact. But the commercials, just the commercials, the Barkley commercials were vastly better. They weren't even close.
This, I would assume, it predated the time where every incident is captured on some cell phone video. But I always wanted him to work in some kind of visual of him throwing that guy out of the second-story window.
Well, we're about to get to that. And it wasn't
okay.
a second story. It was actually a plate glass window on a first story in Orlando area bar. But probably the greatest thing about Charles Barkley, and it plays into what happened this week, is there's nobody on earth who gives less of a fuck than Charles Barkley. For those who are unaware, it was a story this week while playing celebrity golf out in the Tahoe tournament last week. Charles Barkley hosted a party that was sponsored by Budweiser, at which point he went on stage and announced that he was buying a Bud Light for everybody in attendance and told everybody, if you were participating in the Bud Light boycott, you're a redneck and a racist, and I'm not participating. Drink this blanking beer. And then finished his statement with, if you're gay, bless you. If you're trans, bless you. If you have a problem with that, GFY. And then told the crowd, go ahead and videotape this. Try to cancel me. If you manage to cancel me, they'll have to pay off my contract, and I'll play golf for the rest of my life for free. I don't care. Go ahead and cancel me. This is the whole pattern to Charles Barkley. For people who don't remember, Charles Barkley spit on a little girl during an NBA game, and when they asked him about it, his answer was, I was trying to spit on her father. When asked
sure, why not?
When asked by Sports Illustrated's Rick Riley in an interview about throwing the fan through a plate glass window, he explained the fan had been disrespecting his wife and daughter, and he got angry about it. And when Riley asked, did he ever plan on having an incident again like that, Barkley said, no, but you look very aerodynamic.
Riley.
Now, Riley and Barkley were friends. So I don't think he was serious, but it's a great comment. And once again, nobody hates on Charles Barkley for throwing the fan through the window. Nobody hates on Charles Barkley for spitting on the little girl. Nobody hates on Charles Barkley for this Bud Light thing, even though everybody in America. Again, there must be something really like Michael Jordan has the money and Michael Jordan has the titles, but Michael Jordan is a miserable person. Like every time you see him interviewed, he looks
bitter.
Like
he does look, distraught.
The most bitter Hall of Fame speech in history.
Yes.
Openly feuding with Scottie Pippen 20 years after they retired. Like Michael Jordan seems like a profoundly unhappy person. Barkley says whatever he wants, does whatever he wants, and nobody's trying to cancel Charles Barkley for it. That's honestly, say what you want. Michael Jordan may have objectively, in terms of money and power, a better life. Charles Barkley clearly has the happier life of the two. I mean, if you're telling me which one seems happier, clearly Charles Barkley is just much a happier person than Michael Jordan.
Oh, think about it. Maybe the greatest aspect of his life was when that casino tore up the $800,000 marker.
Who else
said, okay, Charles, give us 40 and you're off the hook.
Again, this is the guy who does something horrible. And
you imagine? I mean, that's not happening to you or me, Professor.
It's not happening for Jordan. Jordan owed some jerk off $120,000 from golf, and the guy's like, I want my cash right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Chico Escuela, that guy. Remember? He was paying off this schmink. That was, no higher character than James Woods was in Casino. Amazing. All right, that's number 2. You're right. I mean, he doesn't give a flying one, and it only seems to enhance his image when these things take place.
And that's number 1, which is, if you're like me and you're terrible at golf and it frustrates the hell out of you, Charles Barkley makes you feel good about the sport of golf.
It's actually corrected.
Never has anybody so athletic as a human being been so bad at a sport as Charles Barkley is at golf. And he still loves it, and he keeps doing it. And he doesn't care if you capture his terrible swing on camera repeatedly over and over and over again. So if you're like me and your average round is about 150, you could still feel good that, you know what? In a one-on-one matchup, playing some skins with Charles Barkley, I'd have a chance.
Yeah, it's not exactly a Ken Venturi video. The analysis of that swing, which would be impossible. They must have have had like David Faraday or somebody do some commentary on the Barkley
Oh
swing.
yeah.
Oh, everybody has. And again, my favorite part about it is the start on the left where he looks like a bear getting ready to take a dump in the woods.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Like,
I had a horrible hitch in my swing, which I couldn't detect, but everybody would point it out to me. And, is there anything worse? There's probably marital advice is one thing. There's probably no worse advice than somebody gives you a golf tip.
Oh yeah. I mean, come on.
I mean, how useless is that? There's no way you're going to be able to correct something along the lines. And Barkley is the extreme example. No matter how you feel about your swing looking really, really terrible, you can always allude to the fact that Barkley's is worse.
well, and again, if you've ever met or been around a sporting event with professional athletes, they're good at everything. They're not necessarily great. Like Michael
Yeah.
Jordan was never going to play on the pro tour, but like my dad used to do the Dolphins Pro-Am event. Even the bad ones were good. Like my dad's partner was always Keith Sims, the great Dolphin, and he was
Keith
not
Sims, good golf. Yeah,
he was not the greatest player, but he could drive the ball like 400 yards
that I could see. Yeah.
because again, gigantic, inhumanly strong. They're good at it. Like if you randomly go bowling with a pro athlete, they're going to roll like 200, even though they've never
Jay
bowled
McDuffie,
before in
the
their life.
300 game. Yeah.
They are great at everything.
Right.
But Charles Barkley is the one dude who will make you feel good about the game of golf. The game, everybody, even if you're like me and you hate it, you've either played it or you still play it occasionally, no matter how much you despise it. Charles Barkley makes you feel good about your golf game.
I love golf. I just played my way out of it. I mean, I became a shankopotamus in my latter years, and it became painful to actually try to navigate your way around a course. Where there was a time I thought I could manufacture a game and actually play 5 or 6 holes and look like I could golf a little bit, but that was very short lived. It's a disgusting game. I mean, meant for the filthy rich.
It's rough.
And the right wing, and
Again,
all of that.
I am not a fan of the game of golf, but again, I feel like if I played around with Charles Barkley, I'd be okay.
I would imagine so. I would think that would be just hysterically funny. It was kind of like when I was touring a course one time doing some emceeing, and Fuzzy Zeller was one of the players. And the Fuzz got a bad rap there because he was just constantly spewing out quips. So, not everyone is a gem, right? So we happen to mention something about fried chicken, and, next thing you know, Tiger Woods is like, "You racist pig, Fuzzy." And that was it. It was kind of like the Williams sisters and that guy, Jerry Adler, who was, a tennis announcer. And he said Venus was using guerrilla tactics, and they immediately implied that he was saying that Venus looked like a gorilla.
I mean,
Tough, man. This cancel culture is tough. Tough. Never had a job again. I mean, the guy ended up having a heart attack.
Again, this is one of the things that makes Charles Barkley so remarkable is that he says something like once a week that would get anybody else canceled.
How excited!
Somehow he's the only guy in the world of sports who can consistently get away with this stuff.
I was curious about your synopsis of the Lane Kiffin. I didn't get a chance to see it. I was falling asleep as they were showing that it was coming up next on SportsCenter, and I must have passed out before it actually came on. What was the gist of it? Name, image, and likeness? Was he pointing a finger at Nick?
I mean, that's sort of become the new pastime in the SEC.
Yeah,
is everybody pointing fingers at each other over NIL?
Yeah.
Number one, Lane Kiffin, you're at Ole Miss. Like, I don't feel like you were paying NIL long before NIL was a thing.
Yes.
I would say, honestly, in terms of NIL, my favorite thing that has come out of the SEC this offseason, the NIL, I don't know if you've seen it, but the letter from the president of the University of Tennessee to the NCAA when the NCAA sent the complaints about and it was basically, wasn't from the president, I think it was from the general counsel, but the gist of the letter was, if you try to do anything to the current team, if you try to give us a bowl ban, if you try to do scholarship limitations, we'll see you in federal court. Go jam it up your ass, because
is Mark Emmert still in charge of the NCAA?
Because the NIL law in the state of Tennessee now basically means that the University of Tennessee can do whatever the blank they want, and the NCAA can't do anything about it. And so the NCAA was like, okay, we'll just suspend Jeremy Pruitt for the next decade, because we could still do something about him. And Tennessee was like, yeah, we fired him a couple years ago, and we like our new guy. So yeah, go drop the hammer on Jeremy Pruitt, but you ain't doing shit to us.
Unbelievable.
And that's honestly, that's the reality now around college football and the NCAA. NIL has made the NCAA functionally powerless.
Yeah, useless.
Completely
At
irrelevant.
least in I think it's 40 states now have an NIL law. Some of them are not necessarily. The state of California's one is not necessarily all that beneficial to California schools, but on the whole, yeah, I mean, it's the Wild West now. So, yeah, they're going to take pot shots at each other. I didn't really think the Kiffin thing was as entertaining as the Nick Saban Jimbo exchange last year, where they're basically both pointing fingers at each other, and both were absolutely 100% correct.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Nick, the most victimized of head coaches, who just wants to go by the sanctimony of the rules, which were designed to preserve amateurism and have a level playing field for every team in the, in the NCAA championship race. Who was the guy again? I'm blanking on it, and I don't think I can even dig this one up, even if I battle the Alzheimer's. But who was the guy? I think it was a basketball player, college basketball player that originally started all of this.
Lamar Odom. Lamar Odom over EA.
Is it Lamar
Sports.
Odom?
Oh, it was Odom. It was.
Oh, not
was
Lamar
somebody
Odom.
else.
Ed O'Bannon. Ed O'Bannon.
O'Bannon.
That's
I always
it,
mix
yeah.
those two up. They kind of looked like each other. They're both like
Ed
6'9"
O'Bannon, yeah.
and bald-headed when they were 20.
I mean, is
yeah.
he getting the kind of
No,
I
he
guess,
got like $15,000.
just crucified? Yeah.
He had like a couple hundred co-defendants by the time that lawsuit. They each got like 15 grand because
That's it, huh?
the property they sued over, which was EA Sports College Basketball, never sold the way the college football game sold. And honestly, Ed O'Bannon actually gets hated on a lot, not because of his lawsuit, but because it resulted in EA Sports canceling both the college football and the college basketball game. And the college football game was exceedingly popular.
Great.
And a lot of people hate on Ed O'Bannon for getting the college football game.
That's
canceled.
incredible.
They brought it back. They're finally bringing it back because they figured out with the NIL you can pay.
They were trying to get it back. It is now back in delay, and they're hoping it'll be back not this year but next year. They were trying to bring it back for this fall, and they couldn't get the NIL worked out, which I got to say I agree with the people who were like, okay, this is stupid, because the athletes basically, a number of athletes basically said it's not enough money. And what EA was trying to do was just pay everybody who played Division I college football in the country, which, I mean, it ended up not being a huge amount of money. It ended up being like $400 or $500 a piece.
Okay.
And that was turned down.
All right. I remember interviewing Ed O'Bannon around the time that this was surfacing in the courts.
Yep.
Yeah. And you're thinking, wow, this is the longest of shots here. But, should get credit for revolutionizing
Yeah, he's the
entire
Kurt Flood
system
of college athletes.
Yeah.
I think
Good
history will actually be very kind to Ed O'Bannon on that.
Yep.
But in terms of the actual reaction, yeah, he's taken a lot of hatred because EA canceled the college football game.
Amazing. Yeah. All right, Professor, always good. What do you have planned for the weekend? You're going to be
Watching
glued to a
Aussie Rules
television set.
football at 5:00 in the morning.
Yeah, we're gonna see him.
Okay,
Sunday.
and you're not tempted to lay the 25,000 to win 100 on the USA Vietnam in the Women's World Cup.
I mean, some of those lines have been wild. Wasn't somebody told me New Zealand was like 25-1 yesterday when they won?
I could be. I mean, you're getting, I think, only 45-1 in return on Vietnam if you want to go with Nam today over the States. That would be a tough position to take.
I do like rooting against the U.S. women's national team. I'm not going to lie.
But it's hard to root for.
It's a great way to antagonize people. I don't know if Lubie ever told you the story, but we were sitting in the yard house after a show down at Gulfstream.
Yeah.
And it was in the middle of the big upset. I think it was in the Olympics, not the World Cup, but don't quote on me, where Sweden took down the U.S. women's national team.
Okay.
And I started openly rooting for Sweden in the middle of the game. And it ended up in a shootout. And at one point, the bartender came up and goes, "Are you from Sweden or something? Why are you
You look Swiss. Yeah.
Because I had offended, no, not Swiss, Sweden.
Yeah.
I had offended the entire bar. And randomly, because it got into a shootout and I started doing impressions of the Muppets, Swedish Chef. Every time Hope Solo choked, I would start screaming, "Pork, pork, pork."
You hate Hope Solo like no other person.
On top of offending every American in the bar, there was actually a group of tourists from Sweden in the bar cheering along with me. but I didn't know. Apparently, people from Sweden are really offended by the Muppet Swedish Chef.
Wow.
That's actually a.
You
I
had
had
everybody
no
hating
clue
you.
about this.
Awesome.
Apparently, it is a big deal in Sweden that's like hateful towards Sweden. That character.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess I kind of get it, but not really. I don't know why people would be offended by a Muppet, but that's just sort of where we are in the world these days.
Exactly.
So I managed to offend not only every American fan, but every Sweden fan in one fell swoop.
It's a good thing that Heat weren't having a watch party there at the same time, and Bernie was on.
Bernie.
All right, Professor, we love you, man, and great job as always. The Charles Barkley thing, more Professor of Big Board Brilliance, and we'll talk to you again next week.
You guys have a great one.
All right, the Professor, ladies and gentlemen. Magpies, he's all over the pies.
Loves the
Lubie.
pies. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
That could turn out to be a pie in your face, but the Professor's been very good with Australian rules football since he discovered it. And he was good with Korean baseball during the COVID thing.
Oh, the schmanky weirdos.
Weirdo stuff is what he prospers in. I mean, he's great on college football and basketball, but wow, I mean, really good on this, oddball shit that he likes to get involved in whenever. Well, I mean, both were a product of the whole COVID thing, right?
Yes, that's where it started.
Yes. All right, we're going to come back. Mike Mayo, the gambling gourmet, going to join us, and that's a prelude to Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, which has become a smash hit all over, all platforms. I mean, it's huge on Facebook, South Florida Live, and getting all kinds of steam on TikTok with the Mayo impressions that you send out, Lubie, of him slobbering down food. Absolutely incredible. 2,000 people tuned in yesterday or something, right? To this deal, yeah. And all we did was eat. I mean, that fish was delicious that they prepared for us, was it not?
I just like when
Delaware Chicken Farm.
When you can make conch tender. That's
a good thing too. Yeah, conch is usually hard as a rock.
Conch tender is pretty impressive. That's why they make conch fritters, because it's a really chewy fish. Conch tender is impressive when they can do it, and they did. It was just a fillet, lightly breaded and fried, and it was really good.
Excellent. Yeah, no, all of that stuff. They do a great job there. It's fantastic. You would think they would be benefiting from just opening up a restaurant, right? A little expansion in the back there, having some tables outside. People would come flocking in there to have the food grilled the way that Gene, the grilling machine, does it. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Mike Mayo, the gambling gourmet, going to join us here on a Degenerate Friday. He has to be psyched, right? We're heading out to Gulfstream Park.
Yep.
And I've already looked over the entries, and like Inspector Clouseau, I'm sniffing out a 7-5 double Wesley Ward special, first and second race. And that, there's some kind of cinch bag horse in the fourth race. So it could be a 7-5 all with the 3-5 morning line choice, which is always suspect at Saratoga. I mean, you're better off probably betting against that. And then like a giant field in the last race where some Bommarooski could come in. Early pick 5, Lubie. That's what I'm looking at, Lubie. I'm going to take it down today. All right, back with the Gambling Gourmet, Mike Mayo, in a moment. Now that. The time. Wesley Warren with the 2-year-olds, Lubie. You're always talking about that. It's 8:46. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodzie, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
I'm the only person who got to play a compound
Nice.
of golf at
Wow.
the
Nice.
Wynn Resort. So that's a claim to fame.
Quite a distinction.
The other thing is 120 degrees, and in front of us, there's a group that was kind of playing a little slow, and one guy was taking a lot of time over all the shots. We were getting a little bit aggravated, but I was playing with the club pro there, the guy who's the PGA professional for the Wynn Resort. He goes, let's not get too upset. That's Michael J. Fox. So,
Wow.
which was quite
Yeah.
actually really incredible and encouraging to see a guy with he
Parkinson's for
has
like 20
with
years.
Parkinson's.
Yeah. All right. So this was
condition, and
post Parkinson.
yeah, and again the way I was chopping it around. It's
And
not like
so
I
you
was
weren't tempted to take a 3-wood out and buzz him? From
I wasn't
130
buzzing him, and I
yards
wasn't
away?
playing through. And once I found out who it was, I just kind of sat there and enjoyed I took my time. We dropped. I played 2 balls on certain holes. It was good. It was fun.
Very nice. Mike Mayo, the gambling gourmet.
Grab a bagel and a schmear, plus some Defo and Lubie. Welcome back to the Defo Show.
That's a pity.
That's the
Yeah,
Masters
Prince.
music. We're on the Open. We
It's
gotta have
It's okay, man.
bagpipes.
Music.
Or is that sad
Uh,
music for the passing of Tony Bennett? And we got to give
Oh yeah, Tony
an
Bennett.
R.I.P.
And,
Rest in peace.
what in the hospital now? As
No,
as
he's
a
done.
stop
He's
work?
gone. He's done.
Yeah, he checked out.
New York Times just reported that American icon legend,
He was like 100 years old. This guy.
96, and he'd been
Yeah.
fighting Alzheimer's for a few years. But it's definitely a sad day. And he left his heart in San Francisco. I left my 401k at Golden Gate Fields one time.
Lady Gaga really brought him back to life, even with the Alzheimer's, man. He kind of pulled a little Glenn Campbell thing where he was still able to tour and sing songs effectively, even though, he was half out of it.
Now, I know,
The Open, though, I mean, you've been there to cover the Open? Yes, you have, right?
yeah, I covered several of them. I'm so busy this week. I completely forgot to watch any of it yesterday. I have no idea who's in the lead. I have no idea where they're playing it. Where are they this year? One of those-
Royal Liverpool. And,
Yeah, I never set foot on that course. I usually reserve my trips for just going to the classic Scottish courses: St Andrews, Carnoustie.
This course looks like a par 3 course.
Royal Trum.
And
Par
where else? Oh God, you know where I went one time? And it was great. Nick Price won. He sank that like 80-foot putt, but that was before the whole property was besmirched by the orange buffoon. Orangutan. That would be Turnberry Resort up on the west coast of Scotland, but now it's a Trump Turnberry Resort. So
I still
you'll
love
never
that
set
one sheep herder or whatever it is that lives in the shack in the middle of the course that Trump purchased, and he won't sell the land no matter what.
Right.
And he basically told Trump, no matter what you come up with, I'm going to tell you to shove it up your ass.
I like the defiance.
Real European approach this guy had.
I'm not going to watch much of it this weekend. I've got a very busy itinerary this weekend, besides going out to Gulfstream later today for the great lunch.
And Del Mar opens up later on.
Del Mar
Our friend
opens.
informs us Big Possum.
It's a great day. I mean, and obviously Saratoga's still ongoing, and we're going to be out there on Sunday for the big Lunchbox Brunch Bash. I still don't know if Defo is in or out.
I may be a scratch on it. I found out post time for this other affair is 2 p.m. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it
And
looks
it's in
like
a
you're
completely
scratched.
different direction. So
That's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be.
it was prearranged prior to us even coming up with this thing, but I did not know that I was going to be a necessary part of it.
That's
Socially.
okay.
Yeah.
That is okay. Me and Lubie will
I will
hold the
be
fort.
there.
And no, it's great because I posted about it on the Let's Eat group, and that post got over 7,000 views, and it has led to now we're up to it's going to be 11 people. That
Oh,
are
nice.
Oh,
at the
beautiful.
seat. So we got 11 people going to come and enjoy the discounted rate of $40. And if anybody in your
Those are
audience,
some smart people too to take
Yeah.
advantage of this. They really are.
and there's actually we're going to bring some kids and they have a great policy there because kids are allowed in 10 Palms. Those who are between ages 6 and 12 eat for half price, so they would get in on the discounted rate of $20 as opposed.
How does Joe Bishop feel? We'll have to ask him on the show today about kids at a buffet.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But
I mean,
then
what is a kid's strategy? Do they take like
Five.
a little of everything or just the desserts?
there's a couple of kids coming 5 and under eat free, and I guess they don't go up to the buffet. One family is bringing like a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old. I hope they have high chairs.
I could see you swatting some 4-year-old out of your way while you're waiting on the omelet station and saying, "Hey, listen, kid, I was here first.
I would
All right,
assume
I want cheese, onions, mushrooms." That's a mayo move.
100%.
I would assume for the 2-year-olds, the parents go and get the food, and the kid stays at the
Then
table.
sending a
in the high chair.
scathing letter to Joe Baker saying, "What you doing, my kids in here?"
Write that thing.
To Lubie and Shirley, no dogs allowed. Do not attempt to bring furry creature. No dogs allowed in 10 Palms. Thank God. And what are
Arnie
you,
says though that
nuts?
Lubie can take his dog down to the ballpark this Sunday. It's Bark in the Park Day.
No,
See how he does there.
Well, Sunday he's going to be
maniac
occupied
dog he
going
has. Yeah.
to the. Who's going to be minding the dog when you go to 10?
We have a crate. We're gonna. That's actually the thing. We haven't left him alone yet in his crate. He takes to the crate at night. Fine. So we'll do some practice runs today and tomorrow, and then we're gonna crate him.
It's so all over for you. You're going to be taking that dog everywhere.
No,
Because I
I'm
can
not
see
an everywhere
Shirley.
guy. No, we don't
Shirley
do-
is going to say, "Oh, let's take him to brunch and let's do."
No, we don't
this."
do that. I think that's disgusting. I love my animals like they're a part of the family. I spent a lot of money on my cat because she's an asshole and ate metal, but I draw my line there. You're at the
Okay.
home,
I mean, outdoors is fine. I have no problem with dogs
Outdoors.
being on patios.
other people's houses. If the animals get along, I'm fine with that. Do you? At a restaurant, the other day, Ken and I were at the place and we're eating, we're hanging out. Someone not only brought the dog inside, they were sitting at the bar holding the dog. So the dog is literally drinking off the bar. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's ridiculous. And I'm fine with animals, but that's weird. Like, I don't want to be eating my food and there's a goddamn dog sitting there. Like, that's weird.
Yeah, that always causes
Sorry,
big
it is.
debate on the Let's Eat South Florida. Anytime the topic
I'd rather
is
have people
dogs
smoking
and service
inside the restaurant.
dogs.
Yeah.
I'd rather have people just lighting themselves on fire than having a dog at the table next to me.
By the way, in the Open, this guy Brian Harmon, an American, he was 4 under, and he gets to 18. He'd kind of been holding at 4 under, and for a total of 8 under, he was 4 under on the round, and he'd been at that spot for like about 11 holes, and then he eagles 18, a par 5. So he's 10 under now, leading the tournament and setting the pace. Shot a 65 today.
Once upon a time, look, I
The
love
course
the
though is
British.
playing too easily, Mayo. I mean, when you were there, I mean, did you get the foul weather? They were kite surfing in the background in the Irish Sea or whatever that is, whatever that body of water is behind Royal Liverpool. It's disgusting.
Global warming, my friends. And it used to be the most unfair of the majors because of the changes in weather, where one, group could tee off and it would be completely benign, as they would say on the BBC, benign conditions.
Why do they always compare golf situations to disease?
Well,
Is there
golf
a
is a
reason that
disease.
parallel is drawn? I mean,
Golf.
it's always like that. Like, the guy,
Golf.
is dying of cancer or something.
Golf, horse racing, and poker are all diseased activities. And then it's unfair because one could be playing in completely, utterly calm conditions, and the next people at 3 hours later they're teeing off in the middle of a gale. It's 40-mile-per-hour winds, driving
I love that.
rainstorm, and it's capricious, and it's the vagaries of the golfing gods, and that's one more thing that players have
Did
to
you
manage.
use that in a lead, the vagaries of the golfing gods? Because that would have been a good sentence.
Yeah, I might have won an award.
No
with
wonder
that
you
one.
won an award on that stupid soccer team.
I got the best words, Defo. My
Yeah.
words are real good. I know how to.
No,
use them
you
and
had a
everything.
skill for it. I mean, it's funny because we were thinking back. Wow, this guy used to be able to write very eloquently, and it wasn't like he was going to try and make a living just shoveling sandwiches in his
And
face.
where did it all go wrong, Defo? That got me
It's
thinking.
today's world. That's the way it is.
But I was thinking, I this week I realized I'm changing my epitaph. I thought I had my whole, gravestone figured out for a
Yeah,
while.
but it's too early to be considering.
No.
things
I
like
always
that.
you can't
Yeah.
never too early to be planning for your demise, which is not only eventual but certain. Originally my epitaph was going to be all talent, no ambition. That was going to be my.
You have ambition. I don't know.
Yeah, very limited. I like being comfortable.
Look, you made
But
it all the way to the top.
this-
Of sports journalism there at the Sun Sentinel. That wasn't bad.
This week I realized I'm changing it to just something simple.
Just no ambition. Yeah.
No, simple. Three words. Okay.
Yeah.
Ready? He ate well.
Therefore, I mean, people would have not that much of a rough time figuring out that the years didn't necessarily stack up to the normal life longevity and expectancy of
We'll
a kid
see.
from Brooklyn. Yeah.
That's TBD. That's to be determined.
Well,
But,
I think you're going to live forever. You're going to outlive us all. Because if this recent string of meals hasn't done you in, then you're there is nothing that could take Mike Mayo under.
I did eat a lot this week, and that
Yeah.
back to back on Wednesday might be the greatest day of eating I've had. Oh, certainly this year, if not for the decade. But to go from that lunch feast that
Oh man,
Chef Salvo prepared for us at Casa Calabria, I mean that was unbelievable. All the
Really
different
good, yeah.
pastas, the gnocchi, that steak, that antipasto platter, all the fresh cheeses, the stracciatelle, the burrata. I mean, it was crazy. I should have just stopped there and not eaten for a full
Well,
2 days, but no, I
should have
had a
swam
little-
laps in a pool right after that.
should have done
You
something.
went to
Yeah.
NYY.
Instead, I go right to NYY Steak for a little meeting there, and it
Incredible.
was a very productive meeting. And I also had
oysters were involved, all kinds of stuff.
oysters on the half shell. They have East Coast and West Coast, and I love a place where the servers, like when you say, "Oh, where are these from? Or what kind what kind are these?" and they
Yeah.
have to say, "Let me go check on that." I have to go check. Boom! This guy rattled off the 4
Oh,
varieties.
nice.
You know, boom. Oh, from PEI, we have the Beau Soleils, and those. And I was like, oh yeah, those are very nice, and they're a little bit creamier.
Be informed, yes.
They got Blue Points from Long Island. The West Coast, they got the Kumamotos and the Kushis, and he's rattling off. I know all of these because I'm a sick.
But if I recognized it was you, I would just say they're from the ocean, asshole. What do you think?
I don't think you would do that if you knew. His name.
We need to
Here-
get to a prediction. You have a horse for us today? Because we got to get out of
I
here.
got nothing because I'm going to go Tampa right after the show. Me and my daughter.
Oh,
we're
that's right.
to-
You're going roller
We're going
coaster
to
riding.
visit friends up in Tampa, and then we're going to be going to ride roller coasters tomorrow at Busch Gardens. But we will have a contest race.
You're
That's gonna
bailing out
be
right at 1
The
o'clock?
ninth
That's it?
race. We got to hit the road. We got to be up there by a 7:00 dinner date with our friends.
It's about a
So-
4-hour pop, although
Yeah.
you're leaving at a time where you won't hit traffic.
At some point, Natalia will do the driving, and I will be doing the gambling on my
God.
app. I probably right when Del Mar has its first race. And I got to tell you about yesterday. I know it's 9 o'clock, but it's great. I paid for the trip because yesterday I still had It was like $64 left in my account from last weekend after I'd already removed some money. I had, it was good, and I just I got home. I was up to the late double, the 9th race, and I look at the races, and I knew that Philip Serpe was going to win the last race. He always wins the last race at Saratoga. He's, I don't know how old, but I was a $20 horse, but I put $30 into those last 2 races. I
I thought you put 30 to win on a horse.
I hit the trifecta in the 9th race, keying one horse, the 10 horse. Basically, I turned $18 into 233, and the late double paid 156. I ended up with more than 4
beautiful
sticks, and I pulled out 200. The tickets to Tampa to Busch Gardens cost $200 online, and so that's
200
paid
a piece?
for. No, 100. It was $90
geez.
and change.
Yeah.
So that's paid for. The
Okay,
horse
all right.
racing paid for the activities.
All
this
right.
week.
Well,
It's
don't
gonna
bet
be great.
anything over the weekend. You come
Nice.
out ahead.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to see
Not
you
a
at 12 o'clock. Joe Beja special down there at Gulfstream Park, 10 Palms. And it should be a lot of fun. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, smash hit show yesterday. As all we did was sit there and eat for like an hour. Did nothing. I don't even know if we even said anything. Nothing discernible coming from Mayo while he had a mouthful of swordfish and various other things, including I like the way that he exponentially increased the size of the bites of it wasn't calamari, the conch that we were eating.
Yep,
that was great.
Yep.
Conch and calamari, 2 different things, man. I kind of like conch if it's prepared right, and that they had a nice batter on that.
Yes.
Yeah, it was real good. I like the way Gene did that. All right, we'll have Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 12 o'clock today from Gulfstream Park. Looking forward to a big day. Del Mar opening up today, and then Saratoga, of course, is ongoing. So should be a lot of fun being out there, and you can tell that we'll be anxious to wrap up the show before the 110 post at Saratoga. Don't let Mayo get into one of his stories at the end there, just like I'm doing here. All right, we'll see you at 12 o'clock as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:02.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.